Hey guys, there's a few things I wanted to update you on my week. Again, a mixed bag, lots of stuff to talk about. First thing you'll notice, I'm a lot less scrappy than I was in my last video. The third time in my life I've tried to grow a beard. And I thought I was really going to get through it this time, but man, that itches. And I just can't take it. It was coming out a little gray too, so I shaved it off and gave up. I'm not going to do a beard. And maybe I'll learn one day. Just don't even start. Because the itching, you just feel like a hound dog. Anyways, let's get to our week. This video format's going to be a little different. I'm going to kind of narrate us through everything. And we'll just keep coming back to me, and I'll keep editing in some video of my week and what's been going on and all that. Some are just going to be little quick snapshot clips for you to see what we're talking about here. First and foremost is my regular work week. We are installing a conveyor system down in the city of Torrance, over by the Torrance Airport. It's for a woodworking company, and they do wood doors and windows and sash and all that stuff. So they're a woodworking place. This is their finishing department. So here I'm going to install this part into the video. So stand by for that. We're working on a spray booth conveyor line setup. You can see all these different conveyor lines here. I've got an oven here, and it comes around to a spray booth here. And this is a load and unload area. This is the drive for the conveyor here. So we're actually starting here in this back corner. And these columns that you see here are what you probably saw from previous videos. That's a lot of these here. And there's certain job site math that comes into play. This is a dual track conveyor. The dotted line represents the drive line, and the solid line represents the product line. So it's a pickup drop-off type of conveyor. And I'll show you where I'm starting to lay out here in the corner. And there's my first bit of layout. The red establishes a corner. The two tracks are the inside and outside radius. So the inner track is a 24-inch radius, and the outside track is a 26-inch radius. So would you like a little pie with your conveyor? So I do. There are some pie calculations involved. The blue lines there on the floor represent the first column. We go out and support the conveyor in two spots. And then we've already lasered the building and done some layout. And right there where that red X is where I make my first 45-degree break and do an offset and come over to the spray booth. So there's some trigonometry involved. So we've got pi and trig that both have practical applications within this job site. In that crate is an oven that's going on the line. There's the beginnings of the online spray booth. That's what's going on the conveyor line. Over there is an offline spray booth that we already put in. And another Barzy gang box, and a bunch of conveyor to play with. Straight sections, 90-degree curves, big radiuses. There's my big radiuses there. There's my small radiuses there. Straight track over there. Drive unit over there. There's vertical raise and lowers. Right here, let me zoom in on that for you. That is one hanger for the product. And this company is a window and door company. So one of the product holders has already been assembled so the customer could see it, so he could fabricate his hangers. Okay, well, this is just the beginning of it. We still got all these boxes of fun to put together. All kinds of stuff to play with. All right, guys, talk to you later. Okay, so we're progressing. The boys are working on the spray booth. Got a few columns up. And I'll show you my process. We do a lot of layout on the floor. The conveyor finally gets hung with half-inch nuts welded to the backside of the conveyor track, and then all thread drops. Here we've done a little layout there on the floor, a little bit of math, a little bit of pi, another nut welded to the backside of the track. And the way we spot those and where we know where to weld a nut on, let's use a laser level and see that little dot down there on the backside of the track. And I've got the track exactly where I want it to hang. But then when we look up, we got a little red dot right there on top, right next to that hole. So that's how I know where to place my holes and where to weld my nuts on the backside of the track. So that's how you do a track layout. You just start off on the floor, transfer everything down to the floor. You've got a nice chalkboard to write on the floor, and figure out all your geometry and how all the track's going to lay out, and then transfer all your holes up to your vertical columns. And getting the first part of it started is difficult. You need to get something to build off of. So right now there's no point of reference in the building. I've already measured this room. The room's not square, so I had to establish square lines with the system and index it off of one wall only. So this is the beginnings of a layout. I have all this track hanging and up on the columns and square with my index reference surface. And then we've got something known straight to build off of. All right? That's the life of a millwright right there. All right, fellas. I'll bring you back in a couple days when we got some more stuff to look at. And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that progress on the little conveyor setup over there. Just getting started and just getting laid out. Lots of lasers flying around, lots of chalk marks on the floor, and getting things squared up and started with that conveyor. So, and a lot going on in there. We spent 2 weeks cleaning that building, getting all the old equipment out and pulling out abandoned pipes and conduits and wire and lights that didn't even work. They were just hanging there, and ductwork that didn't go anywhere. And we just totally gutted that building. Now, there was a piece of equipment in there that the guy never used. And he told me if I took it out, I could have it. So I gave him the labor to yank it out of there. And if any of you are interested, this is actually a very nice air supply plenum. I'm going to go ahead and describe it to you now. It's an overhead plenum that hangs. The box is 8 foot by 12 foot. It's got filters in the belly of it. I'm going to show you a picture here in a little bit. It's got filters in the belly of it. It's got a 24-inch duct coming out of the top of the box that goes up through the roof of the building. And it uses a tube axle type fan, which is a spray booth type fan. So it's good for hazardous vapors. It would be good for sanding dust, painting, overspray and mist, vapors, things like that. The motor and the belts and drive are not in the airstream. So it's a spray booth type fan. And then it's got the weather hood and all that goes on the roof. And it also has, I even grabbed the motor controls. It's got actually a nice little VFD, and it's got the painter's stuff all over it, but this is 100% operational. It's got a nice little freak drive on it. This is a Fuji, which is GE branded, available through WW Grangers. And it's a nice little drive. It's not a vector control model, so you can't get the torque boost out of it, but it's perfect for blowers and fans and things like that. So this does go with it. It's got a 24-inch fan. Like I said, it had a 24-inch duct. It's a 24-inch tube axle fan with a 2 horsepower motor, 3-phase. So if you do need some general ventilation in your shop, this would make a good welding hood. It would make a good, you put some plastic curtains around this box, and you could use it for sanding or even sandblasting. Maybe some light painting to pull up some overspray, or just general shop ventilation. You can run the fan in either direction. You can either blow air in and blow air out, depending on how you install the fan and which direction you put the filter bank in. But here's a snapshot of that. and that unit you just saw was the 12 by 8 box, and you saw the 24-inch duct going up through the roof, and the fan and motor are roof mounted, and the weather hood and everything is up there. I have this system complete, skidded and banded. You can have it for scrap value. If you're I am in the Southern California area, and if you're interested in this, or know someone that's interested in it, have them give me a call. Email address is right up there. If you're interested in it, come and get it. And like I say, if it doesn't go in a couple weeks, it's going to scrap. So, and it was a nice plenum. I hated to throw it in the trash. So there's that. All right. Next up, I had a YouTube user that I kind of follow a little bit, and he follows me as well. We're YouTube buddies. His name's Herb Blair, and he sent me a very nice note. He said, I saw on your whiteboard you need some 1/8-inch end mills, so here you go. I appreciate all your videos that you've done, especially the ones on the speed squares. And he sent me some carbides, some 1/8-inch carbide. All American made, nice little pieces. And so thank you, Herb. I really appreciate that. I would like to mention on the board, I'm not looking for you guys to send me this stuff. It's what the shop needs, and when I get ready to head to McFadden-Dale's or place an order with Inco or a McMaster car, I got a place to remember it and look at it. So I am not asking for handouts, but I do appreciate everything that you guys send me. This has been great, and I've gotten some very nice emails from you guys. One guy sent me a few links to some 5C collets that were very cheap. They did not have an internal thread, and I use the collet stops, so I need internal threads. My set is all hard-inch, and I'd like to find another hard-inch 5/16, and I'm probably not going to get one new, but or find an NOS piece somewhere. But I'd like to find a good used hard-inch 5/16 5C. I mean, collets are something that's always handy. You know, if you've got some hex collets or some square collets, I don't have any of those. I'd love to have some, but that's more of a want, not really a need at this point. So anyways, let's look at the shop board. And I recategorized here. Shop wants are the tool post grinder and a height gauge. And, you know, those are still on my want list, but, you know, nothing bearing down. And I've taken some emails on some tool post grinders, some guys saying, hey, this guy's got one on Craigslist, look at this, look at this. And I appreciate you guys giving me these leads. That's awesome. Out here on the West Coast, things are there's pretty thin pickings down here sometimes. You know, I'm not on the Rust Belt like a lot of you guys. Shop needs WD-40 5C collet, and just this the other day I burned up a 8 by 4-inch slitting saw. Go figure, slitting saws. Anyways, I made it through an awful lot of parts, and with a bunch of help from our buddy TL, he helped me get through my slitting saw woes. So I made it through quite a few parts, and actually I was machining some speed squares. Other side of the board. Projects, we've taken a few off and put a few on. A lot of you guys were interested in my gun bluing. So I'm going to shoot a video on that. So that's on my to-do list, to shoot a video on gun bluing. I don't know what you're going to look at. You're going to look at a part soaking in some acid for about 20 minutes. So I'll have to condense it a little bit and show you what it looks like coming out after the first dip, what I do between the first dip and the second dip, how I prep, how I clean, and the solution I actually use. So gun bluing video coming. Shell mill grind, we're still due to do our little part of the shell mill, you know, of the spiral flutes. And the thing that kind of coincides with that is a Spindex mod, so which is in the works. I haven't completed it, but I have started it. So I was going to update you on that. And actually, I'll put that in right here. I'm going to take a pause here, and I'm going to inject that little bit of video in here for the Spindex. So here's an update on a mod for the Spindex, and what we've done is right in the center. This block at the bottom of mine. This is a Suburban tool. This is a Suburban Spindex, and that bottom plate is 3/4 of an inch thick. So I centered and self-spaced a 3/8 coarse thread in there. And then I just made a simple rod with a very short, stubby thread that just goes in that hole and just bottoms out. But it's parallel with the Spindex. And then here's another 3/8 rod that I carved out of actually some 3/4 square stock. Just chucked it up in the forejaw and whittled it down to that. Now this bottom end down here, I'm going to drill a 3/8 hole in there with a set screw that's going to slide up and down this rod and give me another rod going vertically that I can tilt and run up and down. And off of here, we're going to have a stylus going over to the mill. So this is just my progress for now. When I get the rest of the machine work done, I'll show it to you again, and probably with an end mill in it, and the stylus I'm going to use to guide the end mill on its way in and out. Most of you that have a Spindex know that this rear collar is removable, and it just slides back out of the way, and then the main spindle is free to float in and out. And I've tried this before, and an air bearing would be nice, and I don't know whether I want to modify the Spindex to a point where you know, I pull the oiler out and put an air fitting in there and run it under air pressure to try to get the air bearing effect. I've got whey oil in it now, and it's a little, it feels dampened. I'm going to take it apart and clean it all out. I'm going to try it with some light spindle oil. Suburban is a very nicely made tool. I don't know how the Asian ones compare, but I'm going to try it with some light spindle oil and see how it floats with that. But that whey oil in there really made it sluggish feeling. It's just really heavy to move. So I'm going to get that out of there and get some light spindle oil in there. And what you want is very free movement. Both you want it to turn freely and to move in and out freely. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this. But this is the update on the stylus that I'm making for it. All right. So thanks for watching. Okay, well, that's just a quick update. Nothing's finalized on the Spindex, but there it is. The next one is move the lathe, and I've added to it. I got a motor swap. Currently have a 1-horse 3-phase on there right now. This is the third motor I've had on the lathe. When the lathe originally came to me, 1-horse, single phase, capacitor start, horrible little motor, vibrated, noisy. I didn't like it. And then I went from there. I went to a 2-horse, high RPM, 3450, 2-pole. Low end torque suffered. Wasn't happy with it, even with torque boost on my VFD. Third and current motor that's on it right now, went down to a 1-horse, but now it's a 4-pole motor. So my low end grunt came way up with the torque boost. So I'm getting my low end grunt back. And now I've recently acquired a 4-pole 2-horse. So now that's the 1-horse is coming off and the 2-horse is going on. And basically I'm doubling my horsepower output of the motor. And I still got my 4 poles for my low end grunt and my threading and my heavy cuts and things like that. I'm trying to get with these guys on their heavy turning thing, but there's no way I'm gonna. I saw Adam make was it a 3/4 inch depth of cut? That was substantial. All right, but yeah, I'm not going to be anywhere near that, but I am going to double my horsepower. I'm going from 1 to 2. What else is on there? VFD for the grinder. Still done nothing. And 9045 squares. We're currently in 3-inch right now. And they're in the mill right now. So they've already been blanked out. They've already had the fences relieved. They're getting thinned. The the webs are getting thinned, and then from there they get the webs cut out of them, and at that point they go to harden. So they're in milling right now, and as long as we're talking about squares, that's the end of the board, by the way. As long as we're talking about squares, there's a few things to go over with that. I shot a little bit of video on my tips on how I use my squares, my personal set. So I'm going to show you that. This is just a real quick, short video of how I use those little squares on the lathe and on the mill. So here's that. Here's a quick tip for, and this is what I've found these little squares useful for. A lot of you guys, you run your compound slide at 0 degrees or flat, whatever. And you know, you can use your square up against the cross slide. Make sure your square there, and also to throw it up here, and make sure your tool post is square. Maybe I want to do some threading, and I roll it around to 60, but I don't know whether I trust that that protractor there. So I'm going to stick my little guy right there, and I'm going to push it in till I know I'm straight. But you know what? Now I kind of want my tool post square again, and it's all loosey-goosey. I'm going to drop the other one right here and use the 30-degree side, and now I'm back to square again. So there's your two, and that's what your 60-30 squares are good for, or there's another use for your 60-30 squares. All right, stay tuned for more. Hey guys, here's another thought, and you know, today I might want to swing my vise a little bit and run some stuff at an angle. So I'm just going to take that little fence right there, and I'm using my elbow to tighten my vise, to clamp it in there. You don't have to be Mongo tight, just snug it in there. And now I'm going to swing my vise, and I'm running an indicator down the side until I get a 0-0 reading, because I most certainly don't trust this thing here. That thing's proven itself wrong on many occasions. So if I want to accurately set my vise, I can do 30, you know, or even with these I could switch to the other one. Let's see, yeah, I could go this way. And now I can swing the opposite direction if I wanted to and get 30. Or if you wanted to tilt it hard, you know, you could come in here and do 60, you know, you can really crank that sucker over. And that'll work for 45 as well. But you indicate on the side of the squares the same way you indicate to your actual vice jaws. So that makes it pretty easy. I've been using that. I've been using the 45s because I use 45 a lot, and I got squares making squares. But that's a tip of the day for these little buggers. All right, thanks for watching. The other update I was going to show you was I shot a little bit of video regarding the 3-inch and where I'm at with them. And I'd like to say that I do appreciate everyone that's placed orders. I've got some orders pending right now for some 3-inch. And I haven't forgot about you. We are doing it. We're getting there. But I'm getting those 3-inch. I've already got the 60-30s ready to go. I know a couple of you guys wanted pairs, wanted a 3-inch combo with a 60-30. The 60-30s are ready to go out the door, but all the emails said that they could wait until the 3-inch are done. So they're still about a week out, guys, but they're coming. Yeah, here's that little bit of video for an update. Anyways, they're still getting face cut, or they're getting the webs thinned right now. This side's milled here, and then they get flipped, and the side has to get thinned. Then obviously the web gets cut out, and then hardened, and ground, and blackened, yada yada yada. So yeah, they're still in their infancy. But everything's in pairs. Everything gets machined in pairs. So these two right here got machined just like that. Yeah. Okay. So after they get as soon as they start getting the webs thinned on them, it may not be a marriage made in heaven, but they're mated for life. Okay, so here's a mill update. The mill is milling. That fussy little 01 stuff. I had to put coolant on it because this stuff loves to work harden. So, my mill is milling. My mister is misting. My light is lighting. My feed is feeding. My chip guard is guarding. Everything's rolling along really nicely. This is the fussy little setup for thinning webs of those little tiny squares, which, believe me, that setup is fragile, and face milling that is no fun. I haven't gotten around to making a set of dedicated jaws for this, but I am considering it if I continue this course of action. Anyways, we're just I'm running about 600 RPM. Put a little spray mist on there. And I'm just bringing it up 20 thou at a time. My depth of cut is 20,000. Like I say, that's a fragile little setup. And just working my way along there, nice and slow. Keeping my carbide sharp. And keeping it replaced and getting through it. There's better ways, but I don't have the tooling for it. But as far as the chip control goes, I'm doing good there. Thank you, Inco. Doing good back there. Got a good guard back there. And I'll tell you, this plastic curtain I put in, it's been a godsend. It just protects that side of the shop. You see all the chips just kind of stop there. And I even got my tooling behind it. I don't get chips on my tooling anymore. And you know when I'm done? It's on a roller track. I just zip it back and get over to the other side of the shop. And if I'm grinding, cutting, and welding over on the other side, that crap's not coming over here. So yeah, we're doing good. And we're coming up on the last little bit of this cut. Just got a little corner there to go. And I'm going to give it a little feed there. And then my final is going to be just a little 2.5 thou. I'm thinning that web by 62.5 thousandths. And here we go. And this one I'll bump up the feed a tad just for that. The finish on these really doesn't matter because they're getting ground anyways, but I still don't like letting the carbide get dull because it sure hammers the part. I guess you can hear the interrupted cut now, and you can see how close I'm getting down to that V-block to make that cut. But when I'm done, that web or that angle square is only 1/8 of an inch thick. And here's the finish with fresh carbide right here. And you can see that very prismatic, just a nice finish. And that was brand new carbide all the way around on that little cutter. And when it starts getting dull, you start seeing these little tracers behind you. That's when you start rolling that leading edge over a little bit. And I'm going to show you what happens when you work harden. Start seeing a glossy, real shiny spot, and you see where it's making the change. And then your spray or whatever, where you're coming out, where it's interrupting on the edges, you're going to see those little hairy kind of things right there. You get those little hairy bits. But when you see the high gloss right next to it, like a standard type finish, that is quite often your part's starting to get hard on you. And with 01 tool steel, it doesn't take much. Your carbide gets a little dull. Gets a little warm, you start seeing a few spark tracers coming out of the carbide, you're starting to work harden, and it's time for fresh carbide. So very short-lived with the 01, even with just a 20 thousandths depth of cut. I'm experimenting with different coatings of carbide at the moment to try to get some longevity out of them. But you can see the difference there between fresh horses and an old tired dog ready to get put out to pasture. I caught this one just in time. Got the carbide changed out. before it ruined the part and broke the cutting edges off. Okay, but that's what to look for, and that's on my new little cutter that I just got recently, and that is a TPPG 322. And the inserts that came in were uncoated, and I took them. My next batch is definitely going to be coated. But I'm playing with nose radiuses and different grades of TPPG. Alrighty, talk to you later. Bye. And I really am appreciative to everyone in this community that's bought these things and used them. I'd like some more feedback. I'd like to know how you guys are using them, what you're doing with them, what you think of them, if you hate them, if you love them. You know, I've sent a lot of them out, and I've seen a few videos of a few guys using them, but I'd like to see more and see some fresh ideas what you guys come up with for using them. But yeah, okay. And in closing, a lot of people said that I was just a talking head, and I needed a tripod. Does Inco sell tripods? Get that man a tripod. Oh, I had tons of comments. Thought my videos were awful when I'm walking around the shop. I'm just walking around with my camera. Walking makes me bounce up and down. But they questioned if I owned a tripod. This next picture is going to tell you that yes, I do own a tripod. No, I do not mount my camera on it. There it is. All right, guys. Well, that's this week in a mixed bag. Thanks for watching. Really enjoying myself here on YouTube. So have a good week. Have a good weekend. This is probably going to air Friday-ish. So have a good one, guys. See ya.